Hi, and welcome to another episode of the 180 Day Idea Machine Challenge. I'm Florian, author at lifesciencementor.com, and today we are talking about 10 words of wisdom that I like to leave the world. No, I'm not going anywhere anytime soon, but if there's anything I've learned in my 40 years on this earth, so what are 10 sentences, 10 words of wisdom that I would put my experience into? The first is, life is a series of missed opportunities. It sounds a bit cynical, but I really intend that as some sort of wake up call. So if I think back, there are more opportunities that I took than those that I missed, but some opportunities that you miss, they do end up hurting you, and you should never think back and regret what you did. You should move on and just do it better the next time. Still, if there's an opportunity, you wanna pounce on it. You wanna seize it. So why are we missing out on opportunities? The first thing is we wish to play it safe and not taking a bold step when it is needed. If I remember, there was one devastating thing I missed back in 15 years ago. I was young, and there was a girl I really liked, and I should have kissed her when the opportunity was there, but I didn't, and then it never again materialized. This is one example. You should probably never remember that one person that got away. You should have abundance, and you should try to kiss a lot of girls or try to kiss a lot of men. But you should never just let an opportunity go by. You never want to do that. But why do you let these opportunities go by? Because you want to play it safe and not take a bold step when it's needed. Second reason why people don't seize on opportunities, they listen to other people's advice, even though their instinct tells them they're wrong. Right? So that was an example when I did my postdoc. There was a scientific hypothesis that I had, and I didn't put that in motion. And then 3 or 4 years later, somebody else had. Right? It was a great paper, great publication that they made out of it. But I thought to myself, man, I had that idea first, but ideas don't count. You want to put them, you want to execute them. And if you think your idea is good, don't listen to any advice. That's what somebody else tells you. And the third way that people hesitate to take opportunities is when conditions aren't ideal, right? So when are conditions good? You have to find the right moment to do that. Otherwise, it could very well be not ideal conditions, but maybe they will never be as good again. For example, if you have a company and you hesitate to sell the company because you think the price will still go up, it doesn't, and then you could have had a better deal in the past. One example from my own life is there was a gym close to my working place, and for a long time I failed using it because I thought it's just an inconvenience to use it when when I still have to work. And how's that an inconvenience? I think back now, because if you're not having a gym close to your workplace, I wanted to have a gym just next door, where I could go directly after getting up in the morning. But that never materialized, so I should have taken the opportunity at work, right? So you have to have good timing, and Donald Trump talks about that in Think Big and Kick Ass, his latest book. Basically, what he says is you want to make sure that you do due diligence. You want to make sure that that you have evaluated all options, but then you got to listen to your gut telling you what to do next. And sometimes the conditions seem to be good, but your gut tells me no. It tells you no. and for good reason, because our subconscious mind samples much more information than we know about. So maybe if your gut tells you is not the best time to seize an opportunity, then you simply overlooked some extra influences from the environment that you would then that would be unfavorable to you closing the deal, right? So always listen to your gut, but evaluate all options that you have, and don't miss an opportunity that way. The second point is do what you want, and this is not like I don't mean this like do whatever spontaneously comes to your mind and go like here there like a leaf in the wind. No, but you gotta find out what you really want. And that was something I gathered from Michael Ende's book, The Never-Ending Story. So in that story, the hero of the story has to create a new world. That's his duty, and he doesn't really know how to do that or what to do. And so he's advised to do what he wants. And that means he does what deep inside he wants, right? It's not like deciding on a whim. It is figuring out what you want deep inside and then act on it. So the way you do that is you envision your ideal day, your big vision for the future. For example, let's say you want to be able to deadlift 400 pounds or bench press. Excuse me, still having a cold. So what you do is that's your goal in 5 years, then you want to be able to lift 225 pounds by the end of next year, then 270 pounds, 200, then 315, 360, 400. And that determines what you want to do each and every day, right? It determines what you do in a month, this year to get to 225, and then it determines what you do each month. In each week, you go to the gym 3 times where you deadlift towards your always as much as you can do to eventually be at 275 by the end of the year. So you're doing something that is really important to you, and you don't decide on a whim not to go to the gym, because to do really what you want means also to go through momentary pain. Like you don't want to really go, but you gotta go because this is really what you want. Then number 3 is only the moment is eternal. It's also from the Never-Ending Story, because it's all about doing what you really want to do, and to figure that out, we cannot just experience life as a sequence of events. If you only define what you want and then just do one step after the other, hold your head down, don't reflect, never reflect on what you do, then you'll never have the experience of an eternal moment, right? If you instead reflect and focus, be present in the moment and focus on the very moment, then time ceases to exist. You only focus on this moment. In that way, this moment is everywhere and seems to extend like forever in all directions. Time stands still there. So you gotta be present. You can't just hold your head down and go from one step to the next, because that way you're just executing. You're never in it yourself. Number 3. Number 4, a little rebellion goes a long way. So don't just do don't just follow a routine. Throw life and yourself a curveball from time to time. Just do something out of the ordinary, and that ruffles some feathers in your friends, and maybe even makes you rethink what you've done so far. But just do a little bit different from time to time. And Ludwig Sandström has a great in-depth post about how to be a contrarian. It doesn't just mean that don't be always against something, always and all the time. But do something that is a little bit different from what you would ordinarily do. Think about different ways to get to your goal. Number 5, telling you something can't be done is your license to start. So sometimes people tell you you can't do that, but yet that should be exactly the reason why you do it, or at least think about it. They say it can't be done, maybe they're right, it can't be done this and that specific way. But people are often hostile towards new interesting developments, and if you know that what you do is going to be really cool, then actually criticism from the environment that you can't do that or people never do that, if people speak very vaguely, very general points, you know you are on a good way. Because people people react uncomfortable something to things you do sometimes, and then but they really know that you're right. So if they come up with general stuff like has never been done before, or people never do this, you're not supposed to do that, then that is your license to really think about doing that, because that means you're onto something good. Number 6, your audience's emotions are your machine's fuel. So it basically means you are onto the right track when people react emotional to you. So either they react in a very positive way, or they react in a negative way. I know when I did my PhD thesis, we were looking at the movement of cells from one part of an embryo to another during development. So a cell that ends up in your brain is born in a different place than your head, and then it has to crawl towards the head. And I remember that we had this hypothesis, which turned out to be the right one, that cells need to tone down their stickiness to be able to proceed. And everyone thought at that point that cells need to be able to adhere to one another to move forward, to get traction. But we said that's not necessarily the case. What is more important is that you have a dynamic balance between the adhesive forces and the forces that release these adhesions. And people really didn't believe that. People thought to have good cell movement, you need to have very strong adhesive properties of that cell. And I remember one lab meeting I talked about that, and there was one group leader from a neighboring group who was like adamantly against it, and no, he was very emotional, basically reacted to it. Like you could really see you irked him in some way. And then my boss at that time talked to me afterwards and said, we're on the right track, because you want to be at a point where you exactly ruffle people's feathers. If that has happened and they didn't present you any good reason why their version of a hypothesis was the better one, then you know that your one is the better and you're on the right track. Number 7, every hater begets a lover. The simple fact that some people don't like you and some people do, and it's on a spectrum, right? So if you have somebody, some people out there really don't like you. I talk to a lot of people in my life, and some you can't just turn towards you, no matter what. And some others you think you presented yourself in a very mediocre way, and yet they tell you you're the most coolest, most awesome person they've ever seen. So those are the extremes. 10% of people don't like you, 10% of people like you, no matter what. And anything in between is on a spectrum. But what I say is, if you get people that really hate you, then you are on the right track, because that means somewhere out there are people who really love what you're doing. Then number 8, I say the crater of impact is decorated by love and hate. If you do something mellow that is really not ruffling any feathers, then people will sort of react the same way to you. But if you do something really impactful, then you take away the people that are in the middle and you move them to the side. Now people have to react to something you do. They will either completely hate it or they will either completely love it, right? So they're doing something impactful. they're doing something different. Just do something that will have a strong effect on people. You will have people that love you even more for what you do. Number 9, what you do unto others, you do unto yourself. There's a variation of the that's a variation of saying, do unto others like you want them to do unto you. So if people that are out to hurt others, they're really in the end hurting themselves. So if they push people away, then they have an impact on themselves, because the people that they push away, they're gone. They don't have anything to do with them, with the person who pushed them away. Excuse me, but the person who does the pushing is actually the one who hurts. And same way, if you love people and you provide lots of positive emotions, the one person who would profit most from it is you yourself. And number 10, always make your bed. That is a fixed point in my life now. I always do my bed, because once I do that, everything else falls into line, right? You start cleaning up something, you will clean up the rest almost automatically. So always make your bed. The first thing in the morning is what I do, making my bed. Always make your bed. And with that, I wish you a great rest of the week. If you like this video, if you enjoyed this video, click on like. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you have any question or comment, I'm happy to answer them all, either on this video or on my blog article that accompanies this YouTube video. That's it. Glad to have you here, and see you again next time. Take care.